If you're like me and you use your Mac computer for work, you probably spend most of your day working on it. But how well do you actually know it? There's a lot that your Mac can do that you might not know about. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. 10 tips and tricks for the Mac that I reckon most people won't know. Okay, let's get into it. I've talked about the toolbar in the Finder window and how you can right-click on it and customize it. But check this out. Here's a folder that I use really often. It contains all of my current projects. To access it, I could hold Command on my keyboard and drag it onto the toolbar with my mouse or trackpad. Or if there's a document that I use pretty often, I could do the same for that too. So now I've got quick access to any particular file or document, no matter where I am in Finder. Here's a shortcut in the Shortcuts app, and I can add this to the toolbar as well, although the process is slightly different. First, I'll need to right-click on the shortcut in the Shortcuts app and choose Add to Dock. This then adds the shortcut into my Mac dock, which is another tip, by the way, and something that you might find useful. Once it's in the dock, I can hold Command on my keyboard and drag it into my toolbar, just like everything else that we've discussed. There are no prizes for guessing, but you can also do this with apps. So if there's a particular app that you'd like quick access to in the Finder's toolbar, simply press Command and hold it down while you drag that icon onto your toolbar. If you want to remove any of these, press and hold the Command key and drag the item off of the toolbar. You don't have to place it anywhere, taking it off the toolbar will remove it. If there's a website that you use regularly, you might prefer to create a web app from it rather than having it as a bookmark in Safari. So here, for example, I've got ChatGPT open in Safari, a tool I use multiple times daily. I could go to the File menu and choose Add to Dock. This will create a ChatGPT icon in the dock for me. If I close Safari down and then click on the icon that's just been created, you can see that ChatGPT opens in what appears to be its own dedicated window. This is actually Safari, but it's a slimmed down version of Safari without any of the clutter that you typically have. The site will function just like usual, although it is worth noting that the web app operates entirely independently of Safari, so it doesn't share browsing history, cookies, website data, or settings in any way. If you decide that you no longer want the web app, you can right-click and choose Options, then Remove from Dock. But beware that this doesn't delete the web app that you just created, it just removes it from the dock. This means that if you've been visiting that particular website in Safari, you might still get prompted by Safari to open it in the web app. So if you want to completely remove it, you need to go to your Macintosh HD in the Finder menu, then Users and choose your profile. Then select Applications, and you can see your web apps in here. Delete any that you no longer want. One of the nice things about the Launchpad on the Mac is that you can take individual app icons and drag them on top of one another, like you can on the iPhone to create folders. For example, you might have a folder with all of your writing apps, or if you're into video production, one with all of your video software. You can obviously customize this however it works best for you, but a strange thing about Launchpad is that although you can drag app icons from Launchpad onto the dock, you can't do that with folders of apps. But what if you prefer a folder on your dock with some of your most regularly used apps, as seen in the example here? We can do this using aliases. First of all, we need to create a folder somewhere in our documents where all the aliases for our applications can live. On my Mac, I just went to Documents and made sure it was the local documents folder, but you can put this wherever you like. Then I created a folder called Alias Folders. Here, I've made another folder called Writing. Next, I'll go to File and choose New Finder Window. In this new window, I'll go into Applications and find one of my writing apps. Then right-click on the app and choose Make Alias. This creates a duplicate of the app, but that's not actually what's happening here. It's created a redirect that we can put anywhere on our computer. When we click on it, it will redirect to the linked app and open it. So I'll drag and drop that alias into the writing folder that I just created. You can see that this makes a copy, so I'll then go back and delete the alias from the applications folder. For this example, I've repeated this a couple of times with other apps. The process is exactly the same. I've just done this behind the scenes to speed things up. I can drag and drop the writing folder to the right-hand side of my dock. Right-click on the folder that we just created in the dock and choose Folder in the Display As section instead of Stack. I would also right-click and choose Grid in the View Content As section. You can see that when we click on the folder, we have the icons for all the apps that we've included in this particular section, meaning that we could remove those apps from the dock to free space, but still have quick access to them. The only negative about this is that the plain blue folders look boring, and if you have multiple folders down here, you're going to struggle to remember which is which without clicking on them. However, there is an easy fix, and I'll show you that in the next tip. In the previous tip, we explored how to create app folders in our dock and mentioned that the problem is that all of the folders are plain blue images. This is boring and confusing if you have multiple folders in your dock. Fortunately, there is a quick and easy way of changing the icons for folders on your Mac. The first thing we need to do is find something to replace the blue folder with. This can be any type of image file. I found this one at freepik.com. Right-click on the image and choose Copy Image. Open Finder and navigate to the alias folder that we created in the previous tip. Right-click on the Writing folder and choose Get Info. At the top of this window, you can see a blue folder image to the left of the folder's name. Click on this, then press Command and V on your keyboard to paste the image that we just copied. Not only does this update the folder image in Finder, but it also updates it anywhere else, including the dock. You can now hopefully see that you can create multiple folders for all the different apps on your Mac and still easily navigate between them. Tips and tricks are great, but what do you do if your Mac isn't performing like it once did? That's where Clean My Mac X comes in. Big thanks to the Clean My Mac team for partnering with me on this video. When I make content, I end up with files everywhere. Screenshots on my desktop, stock footage in my downloads folder, massive project files clogging up my documents. These build up really quickly, and if I let them get too bad, they can slow down my computer. Clean My Mac is a powerful, easy to use program that helps you remove junk files, protects you from malware, and properly uninstall your unused apps. It starts with the Smart Scan, which does cleanup, malware removal, and speed up all with one button press. Then there's Space Lens, which lets me visualize where the space on my Mac is being used, and I can then decide what to keep and what to remove. And then there's the Uninstaller. Uninstalling apps by dragging them to the bin on the Mac often leaves files behind. This tool is quick and easy and makes sure that you uninstall things properly. Don't let creative clutter stress you out. Use Clean My Mac X to keep your Mac running like new, because not only can you enjoy a 7-day free trial, but as a viewer of my channel, you can also enjoy 20% off with my code PROPERTECH. If you're browsing a page in Safari and want to share it with someone, you no doubt already know that you can tap the share button in the upper right corner of the Safari window and then tap on messages. You would then choose the person that you want to send it to, and they would receive a link to the article. But what if you want to draw that person's attention to a specific part of the article when you send it to them? Do the following. Use your mouse or trackpad to select the text that you want to draw their attention to. You don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to copy it or anything like that. You just need to make sure that you've selected it. With the text selected, click the share button in the upper right corner and choose messages like we did previously. But you can see that this time, because we had text selected, the message will include a link to the article and the highlighted text in a quote. If you have a file or folder on your Mac that you want to ensure doesn't get deleted or edited at any time in the future, you can lock it. To do this, select the file in question and press Command and I to bring up the info page. You'll see a tick box labeled Locked in the General section. Tick this and it will do exactly as it sounds, locking this file. Despite what you might think, locked files can still be deleted. The difference is that you'll get a prompt asking you to confirm that you would like to delete this locked file. If we take an image file, for example, if that image file is locked, and we open that image file in Photoshop, make changes and try to save those changes, the edits won't actually save. To unlock a file, untick the box. Notice that there's another option called Stationery Pad on the info page. If we select this, each time that we double click on the file to open it, your Mac will automatically create a copy of the document first. So what this option is actually doing is allowing you to quickly and easily create a template from something. You could have a blank PDF form, for example, that you use on a regular basis, but if you were to accidentally open the original file and make changes, you might be in trouble. If that's the case, simply use the Stationery Pad option moving forward. By the way, if you prefer to have content like this in a written format, there's a PDF version of this video, complete with screenshots, and you can access it along with all other PDFs I've created, plus future ones, for just $5 a month. You can either scan the QR code that you can see on screen or follow the link in the description of this video to learn more. You no doubt already know about text replacement, but if you don't, let me quickly recap. Go to System Settings, then Keyboard, and tap into Text Replacements. In the Replace field, you type a text string that you will type out, but then have it automatically replaced with whatever you put in the With field. So the examples that I've always used for this in the past have been things like replacing the @ key twice with your email address. This is useful, but it's 2024, so let's look at another possibly more helpful option for productivity. ChatGPT doesn't allow you to store prompts, which is crazy. If you're like me, you've got a few prompts that you use all the time in ChatGPT, and up until recently, I had them all saved in a note in my Notes app. But then I'd have to open Notes, find the note, copy and paste each time that I wanted to use one of them. Here is a much quicker option. I've got my prompt here in Notes, and then in text replacement, I'll tap the plus button. I'll type something in the replace field to help me remember this prompt. As you can see, the prompt is about having ChatGPT help me proofread text that I've dictated in. So I might use a command like // proof. Then I'll copy and paste the prompt in the with field. That's it. Now I can start a new chat with ChatGPT and input the command followed by the spacebar. Just like that, the prompt is input, ready for me to get going. If you use your Mac for productivity, chances are there are a few apps that you always have open for specific tasks. For example, if I'm writing a script, I have IA Writer open and I use dictation on my Mac to speak my script into that app. I then copy from there and put them into ChatGPT, where I use a prompt to have them immediately proofread. After that, I take them from ChatGPT and I run them through Grammarly to make sure that they are as grammatically strong as they can be. And then I put them into an app called Craft, which I use to create all of my documents. Plus, if I'm doing research at the same time as writing the script, I've probably got Safari open. So that's 5 apps that I know that I want to open at the same time, each time that I sit down to write a script. Wouldn't it be helpful if you could tap one button on your Mac and have all 5 apps open simultaneously? Thankfully, you can do this quickly and easily using a shortcut. Open the Shortcuts app and tap the plus button to create a new shortcut. This shortcut is going to be nice and easy, but it will be a bit repetitive. We're going to drag the Open App action from the menu on the right into the body of the shortcut. Click on where it says App and choose the app from the list of available options. Repeat this process for as many apps as you would like. When you're happy with your selection, drag the Stop This Shortcut action to the bottom. Click on the shortcut's name at the top of the screen and give it a name. I'll call mine Writing Apps. You can call yours whatever you like. The last thing that I would do is click the Info button and select the Pin in Menu Bar checkbox. This way, the shortcut will appear in the menu bar when you click the Shortcuts button. And remember, you can add a shortcut to the dock by right-clicking on it and choosing Add to Dock. And that's it. You now have a streamlined way of quickly opening your writing apps and starting your day. When using Spotlight, you can press the spacebar on a document to immediately preview it, which I'm sure you already know. But you may not have realized that you can drag and drop straight from Spotlight Search into any other part of your Mac. So I'm looking for a particular contract to attach to an email and found what I think is the contract here in Spotlight Search. I can use the spacebar to quickly preview it to make sure, and then I'll drag and drop it straight from Spotlight into my email. One other Spotlight Search hack to show you here. You can use the word kind when searching to narrow down your results. So in the contract example, let's say that I know that the contract I'm looking for is a PDF. I could open Spotlight and type kind:PDF, followed by the term that I'm looking for. Spotlight will only return results that match both the word that I typed in and the type of file that I specified, in this case, a PDF. Another good one is kind:setting, followed by the page of settings that you're after, for a quick way of getting to a relevant page in settings. Try this the next time that you're looking for something specific, and if you're interested in a deep dive on Spotlight Search for the Mac, I made a video all about it, which I'll link to in the description of this video. When in Safari, if you click into the box at the top and type a search term rather than a URL, Safari will run a web search for you. I'm sure you already knew this, but you might also have realized that it replaces whatever you had open in the tab when it runs that search. An option that you have here is to press Command and T first, then run your search, but that's annoying to have to remember to do it each time. Do this instead. Type your search term, then hold down the Command button on your keyboard before you hit the return key. The search will run in a new tab in the background of your Safari session, so it won't interrupt what you're doing. You can simply click on the tab when you're ready to view it. This works on links as well. Instead of just clicking on a link, hold the Command key first, then click on the link. The link opens in the background, not interrupting your workflow. Both of these are great tips if you're researching, for example, and if you don't want to miss anything, but you also don't want to ruin your productivity. Let me show you a quick tip with the reading list on the same topic. You probably already know about the reading list. It's this plus button in the address bar, and when you tap on that, your current tab gets sent to your reading list. You can view the reading list by making sure that you can see your sidebar. Your reading list is at the bottom of the page. Alternatively, instead of pressing the plus button, long press it. This lets you add the current page to your reading list, plus any of your bookmarks. So there you go, 10 tips and tricks for the Mac. Anything in here you didn't know? Any tips you think should have been included? Drop me a comment and let me know. And as ever, if you found this video useful, do please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. See you on the next video.